Something terrifying is happening across America. Entire neighborhoods are dying in slow motion. Empty homes, overgrown yards, and streets that used to echo with laughter now swallowed by silence. The housing market isn't cooling. It's collapsing. Builders have vanished, buyers have disappeared, and prices are imploding faster than anyone dares to admit. Families are fleeing cities that once promised everything. Jobs are drying up, economies cracking, and the American dream is burning down one foreclosure at a time. What's coming next isn't a dip. It's devastation. A financial storm so violent, it will redefine what home means in America. Number 10. Washington. Washington's housing market isn't just cooling. It's beginning to rot from the inside out. For years, cities like Seattle, Bellevue, and Tacoma rode a wave of tech-fueled euphoria. Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing workers flooded the region, bidding up homes to insane levels, the median now over $800,000 in many King County neighborhoods. But when tech giants slash tens of thousands of jobs and remote work reverses, that dream evaporates fast. Housing inventory has jumped 21% year over year, and home sales have fallen to the lowest level since 2011. Buyers have vanished, sellers are panicking, and the cracks are widening. In 2025, with mortgage rates averaging 6.8%, an average Seattle buyer now faces monthly payments exceeding $4,800, up from $2,900 just 3 years ago. Property taxes climbed 14%, and maintenance costs have soared nearly 18% in 1 year, adding more than $1,600 monthly to already bloated budgets. Even high-income tech workers are quietly defaulting, and nearly 1 in 5 sellers are cutting prices by tens of thousands just to attract foot traffic. The deeper issue: Washington's entire economy leans dangerously on tech and aerospace, industries that contract brutally in downturns. Boeing's supply chain slowdown, Amazon's hiring freeze, and mass layoffs across startups have gutted local demand. Meanwhile, crime and homelessness continue to rise, pushing families out of Seattle's once desirable cores. In Spokane, home prices dropped 3.2% in a single quarter, while Yakima saw listings double with barely any buyers showing up. When the next recession hits, Washington's fragile housing ecosystem will implode faster than anyone expects. Once driven by tech optimism, the evergreen state now faces tech abandonment. Combine surging costs, population stagnation, remote work pullbacks, and declining confidence, and you have the perfect storm. When Washington's tech bubble bursts completely, it won't be a soft landing. It'll be a free fall straight into the financial abyss. Number 9. Nevada. Nevada's housing boom was built on smoke, mirrors, and borrowed luck. For years, Las Vegas was the poster child of endless growth. Flashing lights, massive new construction, and speculators flipping homes faster than blackjack dealers shuffle cards. But when the economy slows and tourism fades, that mirage collapses into sand. In 2025, the median home price in Nevada sits around $455,000, yet sales volume has plunged 18% year over year, while active listings skyrocketed 23%. Over 15,000 homes now sit idle on the market, many in the suburbs of Henderson and North Las Vegas, where "for sale" signs stretch down entire streets. The problem isn't just high prices, it's that nobody can afford them anymore. Mortgage rates hovering around 6.7% have pushed average monthly payments to over $3,600, while property insurance in Clark County has jumped nearly 22% in just 12 months. Casino layoffs, declining tourism, and shrinking convention traffic are squeezing Nevada's economy, which depends almost entirely on people spending money they no longer have. When visitors vanish, tip money dries up, service jobs disappear, and mortgages go unpaid. Investors who once treated Vegas real estate like a roulette table are now fleeing. Nearly 24% of sellers have cut prices, and homes stay on the market an average of 68 days, the longest stretch since 2012. New construction is collapsing under its own weight. Builders who once couldn't keep up with demand are now offering $30,000 incentives just to move unsold inventory. Nevada's collapse is a repeat of 2008, but with higher stakes. This time, inflation and climate volatility make recovery harder. Water shortages in southern Nevada are forcing new restrictions, driving costs higher, and discouraging future development. Vegas may still shine at night, but beneath the neon glow lies a growing field of economic tombstones. When America sneezes, Nevada doesn't just catch a cold, it gets pneumonia. The bubble is bursting, and there's no jackpot big enough to save it. Number 8. Utah. Utah's decade-long real estate miracle is crumbling faster than its mountain snowpack. For years, the Silicon Slopes region, home to booming tech firms in Lehigh, Draper, and Provo, promised endless prosperity. But in 2025, that bubble is bursting hard. The state once had one of the hottest housing markets in America, with median home prices surging past $560,000, a 70% jump since 2019. Now, with tech layoffs piling up and mortgage rates above 6.5%, buyers have vanished almost overnight. Home sales have dropped 19% year over year, while inventory has climbed 28%, flooding the market with listings that sit for months. The average home in Salt Lake City now lingers 71 days on the market, up from 29 during the pandemic boom. Builders are canceling projects, and price cuts are spreading across the Wasatch Front like an avalanche. Around 26% of active listings have already slashed asking prices, a clear sign of desperation. The deeper crisis is affordability. Utah's household income hasn't kept up, and the average mortgage now consumes 42% of a family's income. Add in soaring utility bills and maintenance costs, up 17% this year, and the math just doesn't work. Meanwhile, water shortages and worsening air quality are making the state less livable. Population growth, once Utah's greatest strength, is stalling as people flee rising costs and crowded suburbs. When the tech sector sneezes, Utah catches pneumonia. Companies that once drove prosperity, Adobe, eBay, and dozens of startups, are now cutting staff or shifting operations out of state. As demand evaporates and speculative investors exit, the Silicon Slopes are looking more like the housing sinkholes. If the national economy dips into recession, Utah's market will collapse under its own inflated weight. The state that once symbolized innovation and stability is now teetering on the edge of a full-blown real estate meltdown. Number 7. Louisiana. Louisiana's housing market isn't collapsing, it's drowning. This is a state battling disaster from every direction. Hurricanes, insurance chaos, out-migration, and an economy stuck in the mud. In 2025, median home prices hover near $265,000, but that's where the good news ends. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed over 50% in just 2 years, forcing many homeowners to abandon their properties altogether. Thousands of insurance companies have pulled out completely, leaving residents uninsured or paying over $6,000 annually for minimal coverage. In cities like New Orleans and Lake Charles, housing inventory has jumped 31%, but sales have plummeted. Homes sit for 85 days on average, the longest in the South, and over 29% of sellers have cut prices just to find a buyer. But buyers are disappearing. Why? Louisiana's economy, dependent on oil, gas, and shipping, is under siege. Energy volatility, port automation, and population decline are hollowing out communities. Baton Rouge lost over 10,000 residents in the last 3 years, while New Orleans faces crime, crumbling infrastructure, and flood risks so severe that developers are backing out mid-project. Maintenance costs are exploding, up 19% this year, as heat, humidity, and storms batter homes relentlessly. Combine that with stagnant wages and an aging housing stock, and Louisiana becomes one of the most fragile markets in the nation. Even federal aid can't save homeowners drowning in debt and water damage. As climate change accelerates, Louisiana's future looks increasingly underwater, literally and financially. Rising sea levels threaten coastal regions like Terrebonne and Plaquemines Parish, while insurance collapse threatens the rest. The state that once symbolized resilience now faces economic evacuation. When the housing crash hits full force, Louisiana won't just lose property value, it'll lose entire zip codes to the rising tide. Number 6. Arizona. Arizona's housing boom was supposed to last forever. For a while, it looked unstoppable. Phoenix, Tucson, and Scottsdale turned into magnets for Californians seeking sunshine and cheap homes. But the dream is now evaporating under the blistering desert sun. In 2025, the median home price across Arizona sits at $435,000, but affordability has collapsed. Utility bills have exploded, with average summer electric costs exceeding $420 per month, while water bills climb as reservoirs dry up. The once affordable oasis has become one of America's most expensive deserts. Inventory has jumped 25% year over year, and nearly 27% of listings have cut prices as buyers vanish. Insurance companies are fleeing the state due to wildfire and flood risks, leaving homeowners stranded. In Maricopa County alone, more than 18,000 homes sit unsold, double the inventory from last summer. Meanwhile, mortgage rates at 6.7% have pushed average monthly payments above $3,200, pricing out middle-class families and retirees who fueled the state's growth. And then there's the heat. Arizona is now recording 35 days per year above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, shattering records. Climate migration is reversing. People are leaving due to unlivable summers, drought restrictions, and rising insurance costs. Cities like Buckeye and Goodyear, once booming, now see new developments frozen mid-construction. Arizona's economy, heavily tied to construction and in-migration, is slowing fast. When people stop moving in, the entire foundation collapses. The same retirees and remote workers who once saved Arizona's housing market are now putting their homes up for sale, all at the same time. As inventory floods the market, prices will fall sharply. The Arizona dream, cheap homes, sunshine, and low taxes, is gone. What's left is an overheated market in every sense. When the next economic storm hits, Arizona won't just cool off, it'll crash headfirst into the desert floor. Number 5. Colorado. Colorado's housing market has defied logic for years. Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins became playgrounds for remote workers, investors, and outdoor enthusiasts willing to pay any price for a slice of mountain life. But gravity always wins. In 2025, the median home price in Colorado has reached $580,000, while mortgage payments now average $3,950 per month, up nearly 70% since 2020. The affordability crisis is driving a quiet exodus of residents who can't afford to stay. Housing inventory has surged 30% year over year, with luxury listings flooding the market as wealthy buyers pull back. In mountain towns like Aspen and Vail, homes worth millions now sit empty for months, their for sale signs buried in snow. Demand from investors has dried up, and construction of new high-end homes has dropped nearly 40% since 2023. Colorado's broader economy is cracking too. Tourism accounts for nearly $14 billion in annual revenue, but declining travel, wildfires, and unstable snowfall seasons are slashing that number. Agricultural regions face water shortages, pushing prices higher and development lower. Cities like Pueblo and Grand Junction, once seen as affordable havens, are now struggling with rising homelessness and job losses. The problem isn't just expensive homes, it's that the cost of living has skyrocketed across the board. Maintenance expenses jumped 17%, utilities surged 11%, and property taxes hit record highs. Renters are fleeing too, with rental vacancies up 22%, the highest since the 2010s. The Colorado lifestyle sold itself as freedom, fresh air, good jobs, and mountain views. But now, those mountains are suffocating under economic snowdrifts. When the housing crash accelerates, Colorado's market will tumble like an avalanche, fast, destructive, and unstoppable. The state that once stood for outdoor luxury now teeters on the edge of a financial cliff. Number 4. Hawaii. Hawaii is paradise on a postcard, and financial purgatory in real life. The islands have become the most unsustainable housing market in America, where fantasy finally collides with economic gravity. In 2025, the median home price stands at a staggering $875,000, while the average household income is barely $88,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of 10 to 1, one of the highest in U.S. history. For most residents, homeownership isn't just a dream, it's a myth. Tourism, Hawaii's lifeline, has faltered under inflation and global economic slowdown. Visitor numbers are down 14% year over year, and short-term rentals, once lucrative investments, now sit empty. As tourism shrinks, so does the housing demand that propped up this fragile economy. Meanwhile, insurance premiums have exploded, with rates jumping 35% in the last 2 years due to rising sea levels and extreme weather events. On Maui and Oahu, luxury condos that once sold in bidding wars now linger on the market for 120 days or more. Home values have already dropped 3.5% since January 2025, and experts warn of double-digit declines if the global economy weakens further. Even locals renting face crisis-level costs. Average rents in Honolulu exceed $2,600 per month, while groceries and utilities add another $1,200 monthly. Hawaii's isolation makes everything more expensive. Every screw, every gallon of paint, every bite of food. Maintenance costs have soared 19%, and insurance now eats up an average $6,000 annually for modest homes near the coast. Add in decaying infrastructure and the constant threat of wildfires and floods, and paradise becomes a pressure cooker. When recession hits, Hawaii's market won't just soften, it'll implode. Locals are already leaving in record numbers, replaced by absentee owners and hollow luxury shells. The American dream ends where the ocean begins, because in Hawaii, paradise is no longer affordable to the people who live there. Number 3. California. California's housing market is collapsing under the weight of its own arrogance. For decades, it symbolized the American dream: beaches, sunshine, and million-dollar homes. Now it's the epicenter of America's housing nightmare. The median home price statewide sits at a staggering $760,000, while the average household income hovers around $91,000, a price-to-income ratio of more than 8 to 1. The math doesn't work, and the fallout is already visible. In 2025 alone, California lost over $106 billion in home value, with major declines in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Over 30% of active listings have cut prices, and homes sit on the market 78 days on average, the longest stretch since the 2009 crash. Mortgage rates above 6.6% have pushed average payments beyond $5,200 a month, pricing out nearly all first-time buyers. Renters aren't spared either. Los Angeles now averages $2,900 per month, forcing tens of thousands into debt or out of the state entirely. The reasons go deeper than economics. California faces an unprecedented convergence of crises: homelessness, crime, wildfires, drought, insurance collapse, and mass exodus. In 2024 alone, over 400,000 residents left the state, accelerating population decline for the third consecutive year. Major employers are fleeing too. Tesla, Oracle, Chevron, and dozens of tech firms have relocated to cheaper states like Texas and Nevada. Meanwhile, insurance companies are abandoning wildfire-prone areas, leaving homeowners unable to sell or insure properties at all. Maintenance and utility costs have surged 19%, while property taxes add thousands more annually. California's government keeps promising affordable housing reforms, but they're years late and billions short. The truth? The state built a housing system for millionaires, not families. And now, the bubble is cracking at every fault line. When the next economic quake hits, the Golden State won't shimmer. It'll shatter. Number 2. Texas. Texas used to be the land of opportunity. No income tax, cheap homes, booming jobs. But in 2025, that dream has turned into a massive financial sinkhole. Median home prices statewide have surged to $360,000, but affordability has collapsed as property taxes, insurance rates, and utility costs explode. The state is now facing an estimated $32 billion loss in home values, with major metros like Austin, Dallas, and Houston leading the downfall. During the pandemic boom, Texans watched home prices skyrocket nearly 60%, fueled by migration and speculation. But now, that bubble is deflating fast. Austin's median price dropped 8% in 1 year, while inventory jumped 26%, the highest in a decade. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed up to 40%, particularly in hurricane-prone coastal regions, while property taxes in Dallas County alone rose 13% year over year. Even Texas's mighty energy sector is trembling. Oil prices remain volatile, renewables are disrupting markets, and manufacturing layoffs are spreading. Construction jobs, once the state's economic backbone, are slowing as projects stall and material costs rise. Meanwhile, the intense summer heat is making Texas less livable. Average monthly utility bills now exceed $420, and climate risks are driving insurers away. Housing maintenance costs have jumped 18%, and with mortgage rates near 6.8%, average monthly payments in cities like Austin now exceed $3,400. For middle-class families, it's game over. The problem? Texas built its housing boom on endless population growth and cheap energy. But as affordability disappears, migration slows, and climate disasters worsen, that foundation is cracking. Home values in major metros could drop 10 to 15% through 2026, according to early projections. Texas always promised everything was bigger. But now, so is the financial wreckage. The Lone Star State isn't shining. It's flickering under the weight of overdevelopment, heat, and housing debt. Number 1. Florida. Florida's paradise illusion is breaking faster than its fragile coastline. Once the crown jewel of post-pandemic migration, the Sunshine State is now at ground zero of America's next housing collapse. The median home price statewide sits around $410,000, but insurance, taxes, and climate costs are strangling homeowners. In 2025, Florida's housing market lost an estimated $10 billion in value, with prices dropping nearly 1% statewide and steep declines in places like Cape Coral, Tampa, and Naples. Inventory surged 31% year over year, while 1 in 4 listings now show price cuts. Homes sit on the market for 72 days, double last year's average. The insurance crisis is catastrophic. Premiums have soared over 300% since 2020, and several major insurers, including Farmers and ADA, have abandoned the state entirely. Some homeowners now pay over $8,000 a year for basic coverage, making Florida's insurance market the most expensive in America. Add property taxes and utilities, and many households face monthly housing costs over $4,000, more than double the national average. But that's just the financial pain. The climate crisis is rewriting Florida's future. Record flooding, saltwater intrusion, and Category 4 hurricanes have turned entire neighborhoods into uninsurable zones. Coastal erosion threatens billions in property, while extreme heat now drives summer highs above 95 degrees Fahrenheit for 40-plus days per year. Tourism, Florida's lifeblood, is wobbling as insurance and infrastructure collapse. Meanwhile, migration that once fueled the boom is slowing sharply. People are leaving as fast as they came. The Florida housing bubble isn't deflating gently. It's popping violently. When the next storm or economic shock hits, the fallout will be national. The paradise millions bought into is now crumbling into financial quicksand. Florida's beaches will still be beautiful, but for homeowners, it'll feel like paradise lost forever.